Revealed: how a 35K Europe trip became a touching journey after my sister's incredible mistake. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. Julie, a devoted single mother living in a bustling Chicago suburb, felt the weight of the world every time she donned her nurse's scrubs. At 35, she had built a life around her 13-year-old daughter, Mia, working long hours in a job that drained her but fueled her dreams. Dreams woven tightly with her older sister, Lisa, ever since their father had passed away, leaving behind a legacy of love and sacrifice that burned brightly in their hearts. For years, they meticulously planned a trip to Europe, hopeful to venture into the tapestry of cultures, sights, and flavors that echoed the stories of their father's life. The tickets were booked, the itinerary was laid out, and anticipation crackled in the air. Then, just days before departure, chaos erupted. Lisa, overwhelmed with work, had accidentally double-booked their trip. The world turned still for Julie. Her heart felt like it was shattering into pieces. Betrayal and disappointment washed over her like icy water. The dreams they had shared now felt like ashes in her mouth. Anger simmered within her. How could Lisa do this? For a moment, she felt utterly alone, adrift in a sea of heartbreak. Just when things had started to feel like they were falling apart, community stepped in. Neighbors rallied, delivering homemade meals and encouraging words, their kindness reminding Julie she wasn't as alone as she thought. At one of those gatherings, she locked eyes with Jake, a childhood friend who had traveled the globe. His lively stories of adventure fascinated her, hinting at connections in the travel industry. Could he be the silver lining she needed? Before she knew it, Julie felt that familiar pull to confront Lisa. They met in the living room, tension crackling between them like a live wire. Their conversation spiraled from tears to reassessing years of unresolved issues. As they dug deeper, they unearthed the weight of their past, memories tied to their father, and the burdens they had been carrying. It was painful but necessary. Before we continue, she paused, catching her breath, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As they talked, the fear of losing each other began to ebb away. With every confession, pieces of their relationship clicked back into place, a mosaic tapestry of love and understanding woven together through shared experiences. Would they be able to reclaim their bond? The trip loomed like a tightrope walk, and Julie faced the ultimate choice. Should she pull away, anchored by anger, or embrace vulnerability, realizing that even amidst chaos, there was a chance to heal and grow? With the clock ticking, a moment of painful clarity illuminated her heart. Was their journey merely a trip, or the chance for redemption? As Julie struggled with her decision, she knew that this was more than just travel. It might just redefine their family forever. Julie stood there, breathless, her heart pounding against her chest. It was as if the walls of her world had been closing in, only to suddenly expand with the rush of possibility. She glanced at Lisa, who wore vulnerability openly on her face, a mix of guilt and hope swirling in her eyes. That moment felt sacred, a bridge forming to mend the rift that had grown wider over time. Are we really going to let this ruin us? Julie asked, her voice trembling as they stood amidst the remnants of their fight. Lisa's gaze dropped to the floor, her fingers fidgeting nervously with the hem of her sweater. I never meant for it to happen. I thought I could handle everything. I've been trying so hard. It struck Julie then that behind her sister's missteps lay a heart burdened by unexpressed fears and unshared stresses. Their father's loss had woven a different tapestry for them both, blurring the lines of responsibility and expectation. Maybe we can find a way to make it work, Julie suggested, surprise washing over her own words. A way to Europe? Lisa rallied, disbelief coloring her tone. Nodding slowly, Julie turned to the window. It was a gray day, clouds hanging heavy over their suburban street. Yet something in her stirred, a whisper that perhaps chaos could reveal beauty after all. Jake mentioned he had contacts. I could ask him. The sudden spark of hope ignited something deep within Lisa, evident in the way her posture shifted, a hint of light returning to her eyes. You'd really do that? I want the trip, Lisa, but more than that, I want us. We can do this together, just like we used to. Tears pooled in Lisa's eyes as they embraced, a silent pact forming between them. The air felt lighter somehow, infused with their shared determination to rise above the hurt. There were still cracks in their foundation, but in that moment, they both chose to meet the challenge head-on. The following night found Julie weaving through the busy streets of Chicago under bright neon lights that painted the night. Nervous energy buzzed in her veins as she approached Jake's office. It had been years since they'd seen each other, but she felt that same warmth in his presence that had always made her feel a little less alone. As she stepped inside, she spotted him sitting behind a sprawling desk, surrounded by travel brochures and world maps. He looked up, a smile spreading across his face that echoed familiarity. "Julie, it's great to see you. What's going on?" Heart racing, she poured out the story, the missed trip, the heartbreak, the urgency for a chance to restore not just a family dream, but the bond they shared. Jake listened intently, nodding and taking notes. "Let's make this happen," he said firmly when she finished, excitement lighting up his expression. "There's always a way if you're willing to bend a little." But Jake's voice held a hint of hesitation as he added, "Just know, things may not go as smoothly as expected, but even in the mess, there can be magic." Julie nodded, feeling simultaneously emboldened and apprehensive. Was she ready for the unpredictability that lay ahead? Would this ultimately bring her closer to her sister, or would shadows from the past rise to trip them both again? As they strategized, an idea lit up Julie's mind. But the road was winding ahead, filled with uncertainties that could either lead them to wonder or worry. Either way, she was ready to take the first step. What surprises awaited them in Europe, and could they finally embrace their shared past while carving out a hopeful future together? Julie returned home that night with a mix of hope and uncertainty flooding her veins. The neon lights of Chicago flickered behind her eyelids as she lay in bed, grappling with the weight of her day. The promise of adventure loomed, yet it was tangled with the complexities of her relationship with Lisa. They had been through so much, and she felt the ghosts of their past still hanging invisibly in the air. The next morning arrived with a prologue of stunning dawn light spilling through the window, illuminating the dusty edges of her cluttered room. Julie shook off the remnants of sleep, her heart pounding lightly with anticipation. She pulled herself out of bed, determined to seize this moment of possibility. "Hey, sis," Julie nudged Lisa awake, who was still tangled in the blankets. "We need to talk about Europe." Lisa squinted, her eyes struggling to adjust to the morning brightness. "What time is it?" "Early enough to start planning our escape," Julie replied breathlessly, grabbing a notebook and plopping down next to Lisa on her bed. Lisa chuckled softly, shaking off the last of her sleep. "Are you really going to do this?" With a determined nod, Julie flipped open the notebook, revealing a scattering of notes from her conversation with Jake. "I met with Jake last night. He's willing to help us make it happen, but—" Her words trailed off, and she took a breath. "But it'll take effort from both of us to keep this from falling apart." Lisa's expression shifted, vulnerability creeping back into her gaze. What if things get messy again?" The question hung heavily, like a storm cloud ready to burst. "That's a risk we need to take. If we don't try, we'll never know what could happen." "But what if you end up disappointed?" Lisa's voice softened, revealing her fears. "Then at least we'll have tried. We owe it to ourselves, to Dad," Julie pressed, her heart pounding in her chest. She needed her sister to share in this journey, to take the leap with her. Finally, after a moment that felt like eternity, Lisa nodded slowly. A small smile broke across her face, one that hadn't graced her lips in weeks. All right, let's do it. Where do we start? Julie's spirits soared, feeling the weight of their fears begin to lift. They spent the next few hours poring over maps and websites, choosing destinations and attractions. Each decision felt monumental, laden with the weight of their past, but buoyed by a newfound resolve to build a brighter future. Yet, in the back of Julie's mind, a tiny voice whispered worries about the journey ahead. Would they end up at each other's throats again? Would Lisa slip back into those old habits of avoiding confrontation? She pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on their laughter, their shared joy as they daydreamed about streets in Paris and markets in Barcelona. As they closed in on a tentative itinerary, Julie's phone buzzed suddenly, cutting through their bubble of enthusiasm. The name flashed on the screen. Jake. "Do you think he found something?" Lisa's excitement was infectious, making Julie's heart race. With a quick swipe, she answered, "Hey, Jake." "Julie, I wanted to let you know I found a potential flight for you two," Jake spoke, his tone light but clipped. "But there's a catch." The lines suddenly fell silent, and anticipation crackled in the air. Julie and Lisa exchanged glances, both sensing the weight behind those words. "What's the catch?" Julie finally managed to ask, concern rippling through her. "Let's just say there's a reason it's available. Are you ready for an adventure? Things might not go as planned," Jake continued, his voice laced with intrigue. Julie felt a mix of excitement and dread. "What do you mean?" "Just meet me later and I'll show you." As she hung up, Julie felt an intoxicating mixture of hope and fear. What awaited them was still a mystery, but in that instance, every possibility shimmered like the last rays of a sunset, beautiful and uncharted. "Are you ready for what comes next?" she asked Lisa, not fully knowing how to answer even herself. "A journey with its own surprises," Lisa replied, her expression mirroring the uncertainty reflected back at her. And with that one statement, the future felt wide open, ready to be explored, complicated, breathtaking, and undeniably theirs. What awaited them on this trip? Was it just another chance at adventure, or something far deeper, a path toward healing that they could never have anticipated? The sun hung high in the sky when Julie and Lisa met Jake at their favorite coffee shop. Julie's heart raced as they stepped inside, the smell of freshly brewed coffee awakening her senses. It was the kind of comforting place where laughter mingled with chatter. Yet beneath that warmth, a tension simmered in the air. "Hey, you made it!" Jake greeted them, flashing a grin. His enthusiasm was infectious, but Julie could see the seriousness lurking in his eyes. "What's the catch?" Julie asked as they settled into a corner booth, determined to cut straight to the point. Jake pulled out his laptop and opened it, revealing a screen filled with information. "Okay, so I found this fantastic deal, but it comes with some unconventional conditions." He paused, letting that sink in. "You have to leave next week on a red-eye flight, and there's a layover in a city you might not expect." Lisa frowned. "What city?" "Reykjavik, Iceland." Jake leaned forward, his excitement palpable. "It's not just a layover, though. You'll have a full day there. Explore, then hop on to Europe the next night." "What's the catch, really?" Julie pressed, a knot forming in her stomach. Jake hesitated, his gaze flickering. "You need to share a room with a random traveler chosen by the airline. It's part of their program to promote social interaction among passengers." Julie's pulse quickened. "You mean we could be with someone we don't know?" "Exactly," he said, then added, "But think about it. It's a chance to meet new people. And who knows, you might find someone who changes your perception of the trip." Lisa's eyes brightened at the idea. That could be wild, an unexpected adventure. Julie bit her lip, considering it. The last thing she wanted was to throw them into something unpredictable. They had only just agreed to embrace the journey ahead of them. But then again, wasn't this what they wanted? To break free from their comfort zone and write a new chapter together? "All right, let's do it," Julie said, surprising even herself. But we should make sure it's someone cool. Jake grinned. I knew you'd be down. He started typing furiously, booking the tickets and securing their layover. With every click, a new layer of excitement enveloped Julie. As they discussed their itinerary, something nagged at the back of her mind. What about accommodations in Europe? We'll need a place to stay after Iceland, she pointed out. I think I can help with that too. I have a few contacts, Jake replied, his confidence reassuring. With a flurry of planning, they mapped out their days in Reykjavik and identified paths for their days in Paris and Barcelona. Laughter erupted at the thought of trying traditional foods and getting lost amidst historical sites. However, the uncertainties still loomed. Would this trip scatter them among strangers or help them find even deeper connection to each other? Just promise me we'll keep communicating, Lisa said earnestly, her hand tapping nervously on the table. I don't want to lose you in all this whirlwind. Julie reached out, squeezing her sister's hand. We're in this together, no matter what. But inside, Julie still felt a flutter of doubt. What if their bond was tested? What if a stranger meant more than just another fellow traveler? As they left the cafe, a sense of liberation rushed over Julie. This was it, the moment they stepped into the unknown. The air was electrifying, charged with possibilities. But she couldn't shake the unease nestled in her heart. What if this trip changes everything? She murmured to herself, barely audible. As they approached the street corner, the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows. With each step toward their adventure, uncertainty battled with exhilaration. They were on the threshold of a journey that could reshape their lives. But as they turned the corner, the faint sound of laughter filled the air, and a group of travel bloggers strolled past, each sharing stories of their exploits. Julie caught a glimpse of one of them, a girl with wild hair and vibrant eyes. The unmistakable feeling of destiny wrapped around her like a shroud. What now? Lisa asked, her voice pulling Julie back. I don't know, she hesitated, her mind racing with what lay ahead. But I think we're about to find out. Little did they know how one simple mistake could lead them to an extraordinary revelation. Would this unexpected journey be the healing they needed, or would it reveal the fractures still hidden beneath the surface? The next day dawned crisp and clear, painting the world in shades of hope. Julie woke up with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Today was the day they embarked on their trip. She glanced over at Lisa, still sleeping peacefully, unaware of the whirlwind of emotions bubbling within Julie. After a quick breakfast, they loaded their bags into Jake's car. The energy in the air was magnetic, buzzing with anticipation. Julie's heart drummed a fast rhythm as they drove toward the airport. Each passing moment brought them closer to a new adventure and, simultaneously, closer to the unknown dangers lurking amid their journey. At the airport, the hustle was alive. Travelers bustled by, each with their own dreams and destinies. Labored breathing turned into anxious chatter as they checked in, collected their boarding passes, and finally made their way through security. The anxiety met her there, bundled with the thrill of crossing into uncharted territory. As they waited at the gate, Lisa couldn't contain her excitement. "This is it! We're really doing this!" she exclaimed, bouncing on her feet. Julie forced a smile, wrestling with her worries. "Just promise me, no matter what weird roommate we end up with in Iceland, we don't lose each other." "Deal," Lisa nodded eagerly, her eyes shining with determination. Jake strolled over, his own ticket in hand, grinning like a kid in a candy store. "Okay, last call for any final thoughts. We are about to blast off." As they boarded, a wave of exhilaration swept over Julie. She settled into her seat next to Lisa, while Jake took the aisle seat across from them. With the engines rumbling to life, the plane taxied down the runway, and a surge of adrenaline ignited in Julie's chest. Time blurred in the sky, smushed between sleep and daydreams. Julie's mind soared with thoughts of all they would see, all the adventures that awaited. But sometimes it swerved back into that nagging doubt. What if the roommate wasn't just a stranger, but a potential threat? Or what if they found themselves lost, far from their roots? Hours later, the flicker of the landing lights pierced through the clouds, and they descended into Reykjavik. Upon disembarking, a fresh, icy breeze greeted them, a stark contrast to the warmth of their earlier adrenaline rush. "Look!" Lisa pointed at the skyline, marveling at the bright, colorful roofs of the buildings. "How incredible is this?" It was a different world. It felt both familiar and foreign, a canvas waiting for their footprints. They collected their luggage and stepped out to wait for their transport. Julie felt the weight of expectation. She wanted the trip to be everything they hoped for, but above all, she feared what could go wrong. After a brief ride, the hotel loomed in the distance. The modern structure glinted in the sunlight, but Julie couldn't shake off her apprehension. Inside the lobby, they were greeted by the front desk staff. The air was thick with mere inches of silence as they filled out the forms. Then came a crucial moment, the sharing of rooms. The attendant explained that they had to confirm the names of their roommates before proceeding. Julie felt a bead of sweat trickle down her forehead as she and Lisa exchanged nervous glances. "Do you want to put our names down together?" Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Julie could respond, Jake chimed in. "You know what? Let's have some fun. This is meant to be an adventure. Just sign your names however you'd like." In a blink, and with one thoughtless decision, Julie scrawled down her name and Lisa's, unaware of the complications it would create. The attendant smiled and disappeared with their paperwork. As they waited, Julie's heart raced, but not all of the nerves were bad. Maybe this was the thrill they needed, a test of faith in themselves and each other. Yet, when a few moments later the attendant returned, she seemed to hold the weight of an unexpected twist. "I'm sorry to say, but you'll have an additional member in your room." The room fell silent. Jake leaned forward, eyes sparkling. "What's their name?" The attendant's smile faded slightly, and she glanced at her clipboard. A Mr. Tom Grossman." Julie's stomach dropped. "Who?" she whispered, dread pooling in her gut. And in that moment, as laughter filled the lobby, she realized that the unraveling of their adventure was just beginning. Would their choice in that moment outshine their hopes for connection, or lead them down an unexpected path none of them could foresee? The smile on the attendant's face was gone, replaced by a look of uncertainty. "Mr. Grossman is a fellow traveler who requested a shared room. He arrived a day early and needed a bed." "Great, just great," murmured Julie, her mind racing. The name meant nothing to her, but she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. Lisa was bouncing with energy, oblivious to Julie's unease. "Maybe he's cool. Imagine all the amazing stories we'll get to hear." "Yeah, maybe," Julie replied, her voice flat. She wanted to feel that eagerness too, but every tick of the second hand in the lobby made the uneasiness settle deeper in her stomach. Jake shrugged, grinning wider than ever. "Come on, let's see who he is. Our adventure just got more interesting." Walking towards the elevator, Julie couldn't shake the feeling that they had tripped over the first hurdle of their journey. As the doors opened and they stepped inside, she let herself breathe, drawing in the cool air. "Okay, we need to just focus on having fun, right?" "Absolutely," Lisa replied, her eyes lighting up. "Let's make amazing memories. I bet Tom is just a big teddy bear." The elevator halted with a soft ding, and as they stepped into the hallway, a strange noise caught Julie's attention, a low mumble coming from behind one of the closed doors. She frowned, her imagination twisting the sound into something sinister. "Julie," Lisa said, clearly reading her anxious expression. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, just, I don't know. I hope he doesn't turn out to be one of those weirdos." "Girl, it's a trip. Weirdos make it interesting," Jake joked, bumping her shoulder. They reached their room, and Julie hesitated as she fished for the keycard in her pocket, her heart racing. "Here we go. Let's dive into the unknown." She inserted the card, but fear held her hands still for a moment. It wasn't just about sharing space with someone new. It also felt like stepping into a personal, overgrown jungle of uncharted territory. With a quick exhale, she pushed the door open. The room was pristine, the sunlight streaming in from the window. And there, sitting casually on one of the beds, was Tom. He was dressed in a simple t-shirt, his shaggy hair framing a pair of deep-set blue eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stories. "Hey, you guys," he called out enthusiastically, a welcoming grin spreading across his face. Hi, Julie offered, equally intrigued and cautious. "Welcome to the party," he declared, arms wide open as if he were greeting old friends instead of strangers. "I've already scoped out some great places to check out. Are you ready for an adventure?" Julie shrugged, her pulse quickening. She exchanged glances with Lisa, who was already nodding excitedly. Jake leaned against the wall, a curious smile playing at his lips. "Sure, why not?" Lisa exclaimed, eyes lit up with promise. As they settled in, Julie felt a strange mix of warmth and apprehension. She couldn't help but wonder if she had set the stage for something amazing. Or something disastrous. Would Tom really turn out to be as friendly as he seemed? Or did darkness hide behind those bright eyes? Just as the conversation picked up, the door swung open, revealing another figure. A tall girl with jet black hair and an air of confidence stepped inside, equally surprised by the scene. "Oops, wrong room," she exclaimed, but her eyes quickly flicked to Tom, a flicker of recognition darting across her face. Tension filled the air as Julie watched the girl turn back to them, her expression shifting into something softer. "Oh, you're all here. Well, this should be interesting. I'm Mia, by the way." And with that unexpected introduction, Julie felt the foundations of their trip shift. Would this new party, with all its unknowns, lead to the transformation she yearned for? Or would the adventure turn into chaos? The question hung in the air like a sign of things to come, and as they began their journey, Julie couldn't ignore the thrill and anxiety that raced within her. What had they just stepped into? The atmosphere in the room changed the moment Mia spoke. Julie could sense the energy spark between Tom and the newcomer. It was palpable, the kind of vibe that made the air feel charged, like they were both caught in a private joke, a shared memory even. "Do you two know each other?" Jake asked, breaking through the tension. His voice held that casual curiosity that could diffuse anything. "Sort of," Mia said, letting a playful smile lift her lips. "We met briefly in a coffee shop in Paris last week. Funny how the world works, right?" Tom laughed, a rich sound that warmed the room. "Yeah, we were both trying to find this famous croissant place. Turns out the only thing I found was her blocking the way." He winked, and Mia rolled her eyes as if remembering the moment fondly. Julie watched them, feeling a knot twist tighter in her stomach. Mia's confidence radiated off her, a stark contrast to her own quiet anxiety. She couldn't help but feel like a small fish in a vast ocean, struggling to find her place. "How's Paris treating you?" Mia asked, shifting her focus to the rest of them. "Excited to see what other adventures await?" "Totally! We have a whole week," Lisa exclaimed, her enthusiasm breaking through Julie's apprehensions. "Got any recommendations for must-see spots?" Suddenly, the weight of Julie's worries felt lighter as the conversation flowed. Each idea bounced off the walls, sparking joy in Lisa's eyes, while Tom leaned in, fully engaged. But as they spoke, an unsettling thought nagged at Julie. What if Mia was the key to understanding Tom? Would she be able to read him better? The thought twisted her gut, pushing her deeper into her own skin. "Hey, how about we explore that local market anyone's raving about?" Tom suggested, pulling everyone back into the present moment. "I heard they have the best street food." Excitement bubbled up between them. The potential for a new adventure was right there, and even Julie felt a flicker of excitement ignite. A hesitant flame, yet something nonetheless. She nodded in agreement, though her heart still beat a little faster than she liked. As they began chatting about plans, Mia's phone buzzed on the bed, interrupting the moment. She glanced at it and frowned. "Sorry, I need to take this." Rising, she stepped just outside the door, leaving the trio to their own buzz of energy. Julie caught Tom glancing after her, his blue eyes briefly clouding with something unreadable, before he turned back to the others, a smile firmly back in place. "Do you think it feels different with new people?" Lisa asked, still bouncing on her toes, oblivious to the subtle change in the room. "Yeah, totally. But it could also be amazing," Jake replied, leaning back. "Sometimes the best stories come from the ones we least expect." Julie felt a wave wash over her, almost as if the fluorescent lights flickering overhead were filling with warmth instead of artificial brightness. Perhaps Jake was right. This could be the start of something she didn't know she needed. But as they made plans, her thoughts drifted back to Mia's confidence, the ease with which she had slipped into their group. Would she feel this connection too? And what was really brewing beneath Tom's calm exterior? Just then, Mia slipped back into the room, a slight frown lingering on her brow. "Everything okay?" Julie asked, trying to read the change in her expression. Mia's eyes darted toward Tom before she nodded. "Yeah, just a friend checking in." Tom spoke easily, brushing it off. "Well, let's wrap up our plans. Market first or check out some local sites." The moment hung, filled with a mixture of excitement and anticipation. Would they walk away with memories they'd cherish, or would something shift unexpectedly, turning their adventure into a lesson they weren't prepared for? As they all caught each other's gazes, a silent agreement formed. They were ready. But Julie didn't realize the second door waiting to be opened, one that could alter everything they thought they knew about each other and themselves. The question remained, did they have what it takes to face whatever it was that lingered just out of sight? The market was a riot of colors and sounds, bustling with energy as they stepped outside. Vendors shouted out their wares, enticing customers with fresh produce, and the aroma of sizzling street food filled the air. Julie couldn't help but feel she had crossed a threshold into a vivid world, one she had only dreamed of experiencing. "Wow, look at those pastries," Lisa squealed, tugging at Mia's arm. "Do we get one?" "Yes, definitely." Mia's eyes sparkled with excitement as she led the way, her confidence infectious. A small part of Julie wished she could mirror that enthusiasm, to feel it radiate from inside her, rather than just observe it from the sidelines. As they approached a stall filled with colorful macarons, Tom pulled up next to Julie, the temporary chaos around them fading into a softer focus. "What do you think of Mia?" he asked, lowering his voice just enough to keep it between them. Julie's heart raced. The question hung in the air, charged with implications. "She seems really nice," she answered, careful to keep her tone light. "Yeah, she really is. But—" Tom hesitated, his gaze drifting back to Mia, who was now animatedly discussing flavors with Lisa. "But she's kind of a whirlwind, isn't she?" Julie couldn't help but smile. "That's one way to put it." He chuckled, the sound warm and soothing. "I guess it takes one to know one." It was surprisingly easy to talk to Tom, his presence somehow steadying, like the ground beneath her feet was solid for the first time. Just then, Mia waved to them, her long hair glimmering in the sunlight. "Come on, you two, we're missing out." The trio moved through the market, the buzz around them heightening with every suggestion Mia tossed out for what to try next. Yet, despite the laughter and the food, a nagging doubt started to seep into Julie's thoughts. She could feel the shifts in Tom's expressions, the way his attention flickered, and it dug deeper into her own anxieties. Mia danced around them, oblivious to the tension, as she savored every moment. But Julie felt her own excitement dampened by the reality that she didn't want Tom to just see her as the quiet one. She wanted to come alive in his presence. After trying a few different dishes that sent flashes of flavor racing through their senses, Mia turned to Julie, her eyebrows raised. "You good, Jules? You're a bit quiet." "Oh, yeah, she's just figuring out the whole street food dream," Tom teased, nudging Julie playfully. "Takes time." Julie felt warmth rise in her chest, but she quickly masked it with a grin. "It's definitely a dream, that's for sure." A playful challenge sparked in Mia's eyes. "All right, how about this? Let's all share one bite of a dish we've never tried before. Ready? 1, 2, 3, pick." All three girls chose hastily, refusing to look back as they found their flavors, each so unlike the mundane everyday they were used to. Julie's heart raced as they all plucked food from one another's hands, laughing as they sampled bites and made exaggerated faces. But within that laughter, anxiety bubbled back to the surface. What if their lighthearted moment was just a facade for deeper feelings, ones she was ducking? What lay beneath the surface for each of them? As they stood there, surrounded by the swirl of the market and laughter echoing around them, Julie caught Tom's eye. For a brief second, the noise faded, and it was just them, locked in a quiet moment. She felt the weight of unspoken words between them, heavy yet tender. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from a nearby vendor, pulling them back into the scene. They turned, startled. The vendor had dropped a stack of plates, each shattering against the ground, the sound cutting through their bubble. Julie's heart raced as Mia looked at Tom, a question hanging in the air. Would this be the adventure they all needed, or just another detour in an ever-complicated journey? And as the laughter resumed, she couldn't shake the feeling that, just maybe, some truths were about to be unveiled. Would they face what was on the horizon, or retreat back to the safety of uncertainty? The atmosphere in the market changed with a shiver, excitement mingling with the apprehension from the shattering plates. The moment of surprise faded, but the tension lingered, hovering just above the laughter and chatter. Julie could feel it within her, like a drumbeat quickening in her chest. "Should we help?" Julie suggested, her eyes darting towards the flustered vendor, his cheeks flushed with embarrassment. He was scrambling to gather the remnants of what had just spilled across the ground. "Nah, it's all good. We've got enough chaos here," Mia replied with a teasing grin, motioning to the colorful stalls around them. "Besides, who wants to miss out on what's next?" Tom nodded in agreement with Mia, but his gaze lingered on the vendor. "Still, it could be our good deed for the day," he said, shrugging. "What do you think, Jules?" The way he looked at her ignited something inside. Instead of fading into the background, she felt a flicker of that enthusiasm she so fervently wanted to embody. "Yeah, let's help him," Julie said, surprising herself with the resolve in her voice. Mia raised her eyebrows, clearly impressed. "All right, Philly girl comes through." As they approached the vendor, Julie felt a rush of purpose. They knelt beside the vendor, picking up plate shards. "I'm really sorry about this," the vendor muttered, still flustered. His hands shook slightly as he reached for a handful of broken pieces. "It's okay," Julie said warmly, meeting his eyes. "We'll help you clean this up. Just breathe." Tom and Mia jumped in, cracking jokes to lighten the mood. The vendor's expressions shifted from stress to gratitude, and in that shared moment, Julie felt a small, glowing connection knit them together. "Thank you, all of you. It means a lot," the vendor said, finally shaking off his mood with a smile. Mia grinned widely back at him. "How about you give us some pastry treats for our trouble?" With a laugh, the vendor agreed, handing them each a small pastry in thanks. Julie's heart swelled not just for the pastries, but for the camaraderie blossoming around her. The tension between her and Tom felt different now, charged in a way that added an electric thrill to the moment. They all stood up, brushing dust from their knees, laughter resonating in the wake of their work. Julie could feel the warmth of community in the air, and it wove around her, pulling her closer to Tom. "See?" he said softly, his voice just above the market's bustling noise. "You've got this." His gaze held hers, and something unspoken slipped between them, a clarity that they might be stepping into something more profound. Flushing, she quickly looked away, laughing with Mia and Lisa, who were already diving into their pastries. But she couldn't shake the feeling that Tom's words mattered, that in this chaotic moment, amidst the colorful stalls and friendly faces, she was starting to step away from her old self. They wandered back into the market, each bite of pastry indescribably sweet as it melted in her mouth. Yet behind the sweetness lurked questions in Julie's mind. Was she really ready to embrace this new side of herself? With Tom's eyes shining with something that felt like promise, the atmosphere buzzed with possibilities. As they moved deeper into the market, a nearby band struck up lively music, pulling everyone into the rhythm of laughter and dance. Julie hesitated, suddenly caught between joining in and stepping back. "Come on," Mia shouted, encouraging her to leap into the crowded circle of dancers. "Let's just go for it." Julie looked at Tom, his smile wide with encouragement. She could feel the excitement building. Could she push through the anxiety and immerse herself completely? The music surged, and her heart raced again, caught between what lay ahead. The moment felt pivotal, the threshold between the old Julie and the woman she was beginning to discover. Would she dare to embrace this adventure, Or would she hold back and miss the chance of a lifetime? The laughter swept through the crowd, echoing against the vibrant backdrop of the market. The music pulsed in Julie's chest, urging her to move, to let go, to embrace the moment. She caught a glimpse of Lisa, already lost in dance, her face glowing with unfiltered joy. It was infectious, a spark igniting in Julie's belly, mixing with both anxiety and anticipation. "Let's go," Mia yelled, grabbing Julie's hand and pulling her toward the center of the spontaneous dance circle. The familiar mix of fear and excitement surged anew, but this time it felt different. It felt like the weight had lifted. Tom joined them, the three of them forming an unspoken pact, an alliance of sorts against the uncertainty. Their steps were clumsy at first, but laughter poured over them, brightening the air. The vendor's earlier stress melted away as he shifted from worry to joy, clapping along with the rhythm. Julie closed her eyes for a moment, letting the music envelop her. It vibrated beneath her skin, reminding her of warmth, connectivity, and memories yet to be created. She opened them, finding Tom's gaze. He was watching her, eyes alive with laughter and light. In that fleeting moment, it felt like the two of them were discovering something together. "See, you're a natural," he shouted over the music, the enthusiasm in his voice igniting something deep within her. His words wrapped around her heart, and she felt the rising heat of a radiant smile unfurl across her face. As they danced, she noticed the world around them blur. Tom moved seamlessly beside her, each encounter a flurry of unexpected joy. He grinned, inviting her to step out of the shadows of her former self into the vibrant space of spontaneity. The challenge of moving amidst strangers turned the dance into something more profound. With every awkward twist, every laugh shared, Julie felt the old parts of her slip away, transformed by each beat of the rhythm. This was not only about the adventure or the awkwardness of a new roommate, but it was about re-establishing the bond with her sister and healing under the tenderness of shared moments. "Your turn." Mia spun Julie around, pushing her closer to Tom. They exchanged smiles, and suddenly the barrier of hesitation shattered, replaced by a connection that bubbled on the surface. Before she knew it, they were laughing and twirling, taking chances beneath the winter sun as the world dissolved into fading light around them. Julie hardly recognized herself. Was this really the girl who'd once felt the weight of the world crashing down? As the sun began to dip and the joyous echoes filled the market, laughter suddenly paused. A small child had tripped, his tiny body sprawled on the ground, a look of fear shadowing his face. Immediately, the mood shifted. Julie felt that familiar tug in her heart, a desire to help even in this moment of vulnerability. She dropped to her knees near the child, her worries fading as she softly spoke. "Hey there, it's okay. What happened?" After a gentle call to the child with warm encouragement flowing from her voice, laughter erupted again as another stranger stepped in, offering a hand. The collective support encircled the child, surrounding him like a safety net. And in that moment, Julie felt the world glow anew. Once the child was up, reassured and smiling, he ran back into the chaos of the market. Julie rose back to her feet, brushing off her knees, but not before feeling Tom's hand on her shoulder, steadying her, and the moment turned electric again. "You were amazing," he beamed, and the warmth of his praise wrapped around her once more, coaxing new light into her heart. The sun sank lower, the sky blending into hues of pink and orange as the vibrant energy of the market pulsed around them. The undercurrents of laughter flowed more fluidly now. They were becoming a single thread of connection, weaving through the fabric of their newly intertwined lives. As they lingered in the fading light, a gentle sense of understanding washed over Julie. This journey, with all its unpredictability, could hold beauty in its messiness. Together, they were explorers on the cusp of transformation, each step revealing new vistas of family, friendship, and untold stories. "What's next?" Lisa asked, a glimmer of excitement in her voice. Julie turned at her sister's gaze, and she felt a surge of purpose. "Let's dive deeper. There's so much to see," she said, a calm confidence swelling within her. And with that, they traveled into the unknown, hand in hand like the old memories that built them, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel for more exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment how this ending made you feel and what part of the journey resonated with you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who must see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. Together, we can explore lives changing with every story.